The Council of the Galaxy was known for its pride, its power, and its endless arrogance. They had seen thousands of planets rise and fall, but none had ever dared to challenge them openly. Earth, a small blue planet in the far corner of the Milky Way, was considered weak, primitive, and unworthy of attention. Yet, deep in a hidden laboratory on Earth, something extraordinary was happening. Dr. Lyra Kane, one of Earth's top scientists, paced in the dimly lit hall, her eyes glowing with determination. Around her, machines hummed, lights blinked, and holographic screens displayed the most advanced weapon humanity had ever created. The prototype was not just a machine. It was a symbol of Earth's potential, a power that could change the galaxy. But so far, no one outside Earth knew its true strength. On the central screen, a live feed showed the Galactic Council, sitting in their massive chamber, adorned with gold and jewels. They laughed and whispered among themselves, mocking the Earthlings who dared to show off their creation. A toy for children, one counselor sneered. Do they really think they can threaten us? Another added, their voices echoed through the chamber, filled with disdain. Despite the mockery, Dr. Kane remained calm. She knew that the Council had underestimated humanity before, and this time would be no different. They laugh now, she whispered to her assistant. But soon, they will learn that Earth is not a planet to be ignored. The assistant nodded, though fear and excitement mixed in his eyes. They had worked for years in secrecy, building this prototype piece by piece, refusing to let anyone know the full extent of its power. Meanwhile, on Earth, news of the Council's laughter had begun to spread. Ordinary people felt the sting of being ridiculed by beings they had never seen. But instead of despair, it sparked something stronger. A quiet determination grew among humans, a silent promise that one day, they would show the galaxy their worth. Children looked up at the stars with curiosity and pride, unaware that their planet was about to change the course of history. The Council, confident in their superiority, continued to mock, sending messages filled with threats and insults. You have two choices, Earth, the Council declared, submit to our rule or face destruction. But humanity had already made its choice. They would not bow, they would not surrender, and most importantly, they would not allow the galaxy to laugh at them again. Back in the laboratory, the prototype's core began to glow brighter, responding to the team's final commands. It pulsed with energy, a heartbeat of power and promise. Dr. Kane stepped forward, placing her hand on the console. It is time, she said. Her voice was steady, yet every word carried the weight of humanity's pride. The team watched in silence, knowing that the moment of truth had arrived. Outside the lab, Earth was quiet, peaceful, and unsuspecting. The clouds drifted lazily across the sky, oceans shimmered under the sun, and cities continued their busy routines. But beneath this calm surface, something extraordinary was about to awaken, something that would make the Council's laughter sound foolish and weak. The small planet, once laughed at and dismissed, was about to remind the galaxy that it was not to be underestimated. As the Council's laughter echoed across the stars, Earth held its secret, a prototype unlike anything the universe had ever seen. And somewhere deep in the laboratory, Dr. Kane smiled, knowing that the mockery would soon end. The countdown had begun, and the first step of humanity's revenge was about to unfold. The laughter of the Galactic Council had barely faded when new messages arrived on Earth. They were threats, sharp and cold, filled with orders to surrender and warnings of destruction. The Council believed their power was absolute, that a small planet like Earth would obey without question, but they were wrong. In the heart of the Earth Defense Command, alarms blared, lights flashed, and scientists worked frantically. Dr. Kane and her team studied the Council's messages carefully, every word fueling their determination. They think they can scare us, Dr. Kane said, her eyes steady. But fear will not control humanity. Her words spread through the room like fire, inspiring engineers, soldiers, and officers alike. Commander Yarrick Voss, a veteran of Earth's space defense fleet, stepped forward, his uniform crisp, his posture firm. He had seen many battles, but nothing like this, nothing that demanded courage not just for survival, but for the pride of an entire species. We will show them, he said, his voice low but powerful. They will regret underestimating Earth. His words carried through the room, and every soul listening felt a spark of hope. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Council watched Earth closely, confident that their threats alone would crush any resistance. They believed they had the power to destroy a planet at will. They will submit soon, one counselor said, waving his hand dismissively. It is only a matter of time. But in that moment, they did not realize that humanity had already begun their secret preparations. On Earth, the prototype's energy core pulsed steadily, a constant reminder of the power hidden beneath the planet's surface. Engineers monitored every system, making final adjustments, while soldiers trained tirelessly in space combat simulations. Every human involved knew the stakes, and every human understood the price of failure. Yet no one hesitated, because failure was not an option. Commander Voss gathered his team for a final briefing. They threaten us with annihilation, but they do not know what we are capable of, he said, pointing to the glowing blueprint of the prototype on the holographic display. This is more than a weapon, more than a machine. It is a promise that humanity will not be laughed at again. Each member of the team nodded, a silent pact forming in that room, a unity stronger than any council's arrogance. As night fell on Earth, cities continued to shine with life, unaware of the storm that was preparing above them. Children played, lovers walked hand in hand, and ordinary people slept peacefully. But in hidden bases, in secret labs, and aboard silent starships, humanity prepared. The prototype hummed with quiet energy, waiting for the moment it would make the galaxy bow. Back in the council chamber, arrogance had not yet faded. They are small, weak, and insignificant, one councillor said. Our fleet can destroy them in hours. Yet even as they spoke, subtle unease began to creep into their minds, a whisper of doubt, for the prototype had been silent for years, and silence can hide the sharpest blade. The countdown to confrontation had begun, though the council did not know it yet. Humanity had chosen its path, not out of hatred, but out of pride, out of the need to protect the planet and prove that even the smallest world could stand against the mightiest rulers of the galaxy. And somewhere in the dark corners of Earth, Dr. Kane whispered once more, "Let them come, let them see what we have built." The stars above Earth shone quietly, unaware of the storm about to break across the galaxy. Deep in hidden space bases, humanity's fleet prepared for the first strike. Every ship gleamed with polished metal, engines humming, soldiers ready at their stations. And at the center of it all, the prototype waited, its power restrained only by the careful hands of those who understood it. Commander Yarrick Voss stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, his eyes fixed on the holographic map of the Galactic Council's fleet. "This is our moment," he said, his voice calm but filled with steel. "The galaxy mocked us, they laughed at our machines, but today, we remind them why they should never underestimate Earth." Around him, the crew exchanged determined nods, their hearts beating with pride and anticipation. The Council was still confident, their fleet scattered in routine patrols, unaware that every move they had made was now tracked by Earth's advanced sensors. Humanity had studied the Council for decades, learning their patterns, predicting their reactions, and now, with precision and patience, they struck. The prototype roared to life, energy coursing through circuits and conduits, its core glowing like a miniature sun. Waves of power spread silently across the void, disabling enemy ships before they even knew they were under attack. The Council's fleet scrambled, alarms blaring, confusion spreading like wildfire. "What is this?" a councillor shouted, panic breaking through their arrogance. "They cannot do this, it is impossible." On the Indomitable, Commander Voss smiled grimly. "Impossible is a word for those who never dared," he said, watching as the prototype's energy beams tore through the Council's defenses with unmatched precision. Entire battle groups collapsed in seconds, their weapons useless, their leaders stunned. Humanity's strike was not just a test of power, it was a message, a warning to all who had laughed at Earth. Dr. Kane monitored the prototype from her station, her fingers moving over controls with speed and skill. "Targeting complete," she said, her voice calm despite the tension. "Prepare for the final wave." Every crew member knew the stakes, every human involved understood the gravity of their actions. And yet, fear had no place here, replaced instead by focus, courage, and determination. In the council chamber, chaos erupted, holograms of their fleet blinking out, systems failing, messages of destruction flooding in. The councillors tried to regroup, to call reinforcements, but Earth had predicted their every move, and now, for the first time, the council felt the sting of fear, a sensation they had never known. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, planets that had long looked down on Earth began to take notice. The humans, once mocked, were now forces to be feared. Their fleets moved with precision, their technology unmatched, and their courage undeniable. The prototype was the key, but it was the human spirit behind it that truly made the difference. The first strike ended as suddenly as it began. The Council fleet crippled, their arrogance shattered, and their control questioned by their own allies. On Earth, cheers erupted quietly in command centers, but no one celebrated too loudly, for they knew this was only the beginning. The Council still existed, and the galaxy still watched. But now, humanity had shown its hand, and it was stronger than anyone could imagine. Commander Voss looked at Dr. Kane. "They laughed at us, and now they pay the price," he said, a hard smile crossing his face. The prototype hummed softly, as if it, too, understood its purpose, and somewhere deep in the council chamber, fear began to take root, the first seed of doubt that would soon grow into terror. The remnants of the Galactic Council's fleet regrouped in panic, battered and confused. They could not believe what had happened. Their arrogance had blinded them, and now the very planet they mocked had become a force they could not ignore. Across the galaxy, Council officers scrambled to coordinate defenses. But Earth had anticipated every move, every plan, every weakness. Commander Yarrick Voss stood once more on the bridge of the Indomitable, his eyes scanning the holographic displays of enemy positions. "They think they can fight back," he said calmly. "But Earth does not act like other planets. Our strength is not just in machines, but in our minds, in our courage, in our unity." Around him, the crew nodded, ready to execute the next phase. Their hearts burned with pride. For they were not only fighting for survival but for respect. Dr. Kane adjusted the prototype settings, her fingers moving with precision. "Their counterattacks will fail," she said. "We have studied them too long, we know their patterns, and we know their weaknesses." The prototype glowed brighter, responding to the commands with silent power. It was not just a weapon. It was a symbol of humanity's will, a reminder that the smallest worlds can have the biggest hearts. The Council, desperate to regain control, sent waves of ships to strike Earth's defenses. Their attacks were swift, their numbers large, but humanity's preparation was unmatched. Earth's fleet moved with precision, cutting through the enemy with minimal losses. The prototype unleashed energy pulses that disabled entire squadrons without warning. The Council had underestimated not just technology, but the humans who wielded it. In the midst of battle, a Council officer shouted in disbelief, "How can a single planet do this? This is impossible." But impossibility had no meaning for humans who had spent decades turning dreams into reality. Humanity's strategy was brilliant and unpredictable, using every advantage, every secret innovation, to turn the tide. The galaxy watched in awe as the underestimated planet proved its dominance. Commander Voss gave orders calmly, each command measured and decisive. "Focus on their leaders," he said. "They will fall, and the rest will scatter." Humanity struck not out of hate, but out of necessity. They had been laughed at, dismissed, and threatened, and now the universe was witnessing their answer. A single pulse from the prototype disabled the Council's flagship, the symbol of their power, sending waves of panic across the remaining fleet. On Earth, celebrations were quiet but heartfelt. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers exchanged glances, proud of what they had accomplished. The turning point had been reached. Humanity had not only survived, but taken the fight to those who thought themselves invincible. Yet no one relaxed completely, for the Council still lingered, and the galaxy still watched, waiting for the next move. Meanwhile, on distant worlds, allies of the Council began questioning their loyalty. Seeing Earth's strength, many wondered if siding with arrogance was wise. The power of humanity was no longer a rumor, it was a fact, and fear began to ripple across the stars. A small blue planet had rewritten the rules, and now the galaxy could no longer ignore it. Commander Voss looked at Dr. Kane, his eyes sharp but proud. "We have shown them who we are," he said, "but the final challenge still awaits. The Council may survive this battle, but they will never underestimate humanity again." The prototype pulsed softly, as if in agreement, ready for the next step, ready to complete the story that the galaxy would remember for centuries. The Galactic Council was in chaos, their fleets shattered, their leaders desperate. The arrogance that had once filled their halls was gone, replaced by fear and disbelief. They had underestimated Earth, laughed at its people, and now they were paying the price. Across the stars, whispers spread from planet to planet. Earth was no longer weak, Earth was unstoppable. Commander Yarrick Voss stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the Council's flagship collapse under the final wave of the prototype's energy. "This is it," he said, his voice steady but filled with pride. "The galaxy will remember today as the day they stopped laughing at humanity." Around him, his crew shared quiet smiles, exhausted but triumphant. They had fought not just for survival, but for honor. And now the universe could see their strength. Dr. Lyra Kane monitored the prototype, her hands steady as the final commands were executed. "Energy level stable," she said. "Deployment complete." The prototype had done more than strike ships. It had shattered the Council's control, disabled their systems, and sent a clear message across the galaxy. Humanity would no longer be ignored. Across the Council chamber, surviving leaders tried to escape, but there was nowhere to run. Their fleets were crippled, their technology outmatched, and their pride broken. Commander Voss watched as the last Council vessel fell, and the words echoed in his mind. They laughed at Earth. But now, the galaxy bows to humanity. For the first time, the Council truly understood the power of a planet united. On Earth, celebrations were quiet but filled with deep satisfaction. Leaders and citizens alike looked up at the stars, knowing that humanity had changed the balance of the galaxy. Small children dreamed not just of stars, but of the greatness their planet had achieved. Humanity had proven that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome arrogance and fear. The galaxy had been warned, and respect was earned in blood, sweat, and determination. Meanwhile, allies of the Council began reconsidering their loyalties. Planets that had once bowed to arrogance now watched Earth with awe and caution. Diplomats scrambled, realizing that humanity's rise was inevitable, and that the rules of the galaxy had changed forever. Earth was no longer a small blood. It was a force that demanded attention, and the universe had no choice but to recognize it. Commander Voss turned to Dr. Kane, his expression calm but proud. "We have done what they said could never be done," he said. "We have shown them that humanity is not weak, not small, and never to be underestimated." Dr. Kane nodded, her eyes reflecting the glow of the prototype. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The galaxy will remember this day for generations, and Earth will rise higher than ever before." As silence settled across the battlefield, a new era began, one where humanity no longer hid in the shadows, one where Earth could shape the destiny of the galaxy, and somewhere in the distance, new stars shone, hinting at the adventures and challenges yet to come. Humanity had triumphed, not through brute force alone, but through intelligence, courage, and the refusal to bow. The Galactic Council was defeated, but Earth's story was far from over. For a species that had been mocked, underestimated, and threatened, there was always another challenge, another mystery waiting in the stars. Humanity stood ready, proud, and unbroken. The universe had laughed at them once, but now, the laughter had ended, and the age of humanity had begun.